This is the new DJI AIR 3 with two cameras, one of them being a 3x telephoto lens for zooming. The question I'm going to be asking myself is though, do you really need two cameras on a drone, or is it just a gimmick feature to get you to buy the product? This is what we will find out by the end of this video. Before we look at the footage, let's take a closer look at the cameras. The wide camera has a 1/1.3 CMOS sensor with a 1.7 aperture. According to DJI, this corresponds to a focal length of 24mm, and the second camera also has the same sensor size with an aperture of 2.8, which corresponds approximately to 70mm. The difference to the predecessor can also be found in the resolution. Now you can shoot at 4K at 60 frames without any cropping whatsoever. With the DJI AIR 2S, it was 5.4K at 30 FPS, while 60 FPS was only possible with some amount of cropping. DJI has decided to reduce the resolution to improve the performance, and I definitely see some positives in this, but there's more that we need to first look at to have a concrete idea. Check out this shot. Wow, what you see here is a 24mm camera with a resolution of 4K at 60 frames. Now, please take a look at the second shot. The drone was in exactly the same position, we just switched to the telecamera. I must honestly say that I was absolutely dazzled when I looked at the footage on the computer for the first time. The visuals are sharp as a knife, and you don't see any loss of quality when you switch to the zoom camera. As a content creator, this gives you endless new possibilities for creativity. For example, if you want to film animals up close like the swan, just use the telephoto camera. This is also the case if you don't want to disturb people by getting up too close to them. Oh, hello! Someone has actually seen us regardless of the distance. Now, some of you are probably saying, well, if I want to get closer, then I can just crop in afterwards, right? Why would I need a zoom lens? Well, as you can see here, there is a big drop in quality if you film with the wide camera and then crop in during post-production. This is pretty much always going to be the case in the near future because of hardware limitations, which is proof that the telecamera is absolutely not a gimmick. After testing this drone for about 1 month, I can't imagine using a drone with just a wide camera because having a zoom one, it gives me so much more options to play around with. Now that this question is out of the way, let's talk about the video quality. I mean, just take a look at the footage yourself. I really don't think I need to say much more. We shot all of our footage in 4K using the D-Log-M profile. There is just one thing we notice while filming though, especially in bright areas, the footage is sometimes too bright. This can unfortunately lead to the bright parts being burned out. To be fair though, we didn't use an ND filter. Every filmmaker knows that shooting in bright sunshine at noon without an ND filter is not something that you do. With a filter like this, we probably wouldn't have had these problems. Even in low light situations like here, the DJI AIR 3 delivers very good footage. It was actually super dark while we were shooting, and even then, everything is visible and there is hardly any noise. The zoom camera also definitely makes a good impression in the dark. You can choose between 3 picture profiles. The normal profile, which we would actually not recommend because you will lose some details in the shadows. Then there is the HLG profile, which keeps dark areas visible and doesn't make the bright areas too bright. Lastly, there's the D-Log-M profile, which we just mentioned, and we would recommend this to anyone who knows a bit about color grading. With this profile, you definitely have the most options while editing. Besides these, you can also create slow motion recordings with 100 FPS in 4K. 200 FPS is even possible at 1080p, which gives you a lot of new opportunities. If you want to create clips in vertical mode, you can do that too, but only in 2.7K, which is also decent. All in all, we can say that the AIR 3 produces excellent footage, and it was a blast being able to watch these amazing videos on the computer with amazing quality. Now let's move on to all the features this drone has. For example, Hyperlapse. You can set how long you want your finished video to be, at what interval you want the photos to be taken, and the maximum speed you want the drone to fly. You can also set different flight modes, and this is how the result will look like. Many photos in a row become a movie, and this is a very smart way to minimize the file size, which would otherwise be huge while taking a video this long. You can choose to take photos in JPEG or RAW. The next function is called Waypoints and is, in my opinion, one of the most important and best functions a drone can have. The principle is actually very simple. You fly the drone to a point which you choose as a starting point, then you fly on to the next point, then to another one, and so on. The drone then automatically flies to these points. This gives you so many cool options that you couldn't do manually, like these shots that you see on the screen. You can also save the waypoints so that you can take the exact same shot during the day and night to get this cool footage. This is really a killer feature, one that I would definitely recommend to everyone for you to try out. Of course, the DJI AIR 3 also has several tracking functions. You can track buildings, cars, boats, or people. You have several options like Active Track. Here you can track a person and the drone basically just follows them. You can also track the person from the side or from the front. The cool thing here is that you can film yourself without looking at the controller. You don't have to worry about the drone flying into anything because thanks to all these sensors, the drone detects early if there's an obstacle in the way and stops automatically. You can also set the drone to fly around these obstacles. We actually tried crashing the drone to test if the sensors really work that well, and luckily for us, we did not succeed. The drone will always stop no matter what or where the obstacle is, which is nothing short of amazing. Besides active tracking, you also have the spotlight option, which we think is the most useful tracking. You have complete control over the drone and can steer it as you like, but the camera always keeps a tracked object in focus. This is super handy since you don't have to worry about whether your object is in the frame. However, the drone loses tracking after a certain distance, so you definitely shouldn't fly too far away. The last tracking option is POI, Point of Interest. Here you can let the drone automatically circle around an object and determine the speed. However, with larger objects, the drone often loses tracking and then tries to take the location as a reference point to continue the flight. During our recordings, we had a couple of problems with the AIR 3 losing tracking and having to retake the recordings. Basically, the tracking is incredible when it works, and this is most of the time to be fair, but there were instances when it does lose track of the subject. On the lake, for example, the drone could not track us on a paddleboard for some reason. But regardless of this, our conclusion on the tracking, it is always best to fly without tracking, but in some situations it can be really useful. During those times, the tracking works pretty well, more often than not. Next in line is Quick Shots and Mastershots. Here the drone automatically flies a few programs. This can be cool if you don't have any creative ideas on how to film your subject or just want to get some cool shots. Mastershots are basically all quick shots combined into one video. The first one is called Droney. The second one is Circle, Far. Then comes Pitch Up and Fly Forward, and then once again Circle, this time Close, and a couple of more. I don't think we need to show you any more of these because the principle should be clear. Of course, the drone can also take photos in JPEG or RAW with 48 megapixels. DJI has also built in a few cool gimmicks such as the panorama mode. There you have different options like Tiny World or other different panorama shots. The drone does it all automatically, which comes in handy and takes away the hassle of figuring out the settings of these shots. Well, what else is new? Oh, DJI has reintroduced external antennas to provide us with even stronger reception capabilities for the new controller. As a result, we can now achieve a remarkable 20 kilometers of range, a significant improvement over the 12 kilometers attainable with previous models. This enhancement in range, while perhaps more than needed for most users, is a positive sign that shorter distance connections are also improving. 20 kilometers is actually insane. I personally wouldn't try to go that far, as I would be scared that someone snatches my drone and runs away, but if you live in an open area where there won't be much interference, then go for it by all means. Looking at the physical design of the remote controls, they maintain a familiar appearance with certain series distinctions. Notably, the backside of the DJI RC has been slightly reinforced to accommodate the antennas. The crucial modification enabling the improved range is the adoption of a 6-antenna system, replacing the previous 4-antenna setup. Switching gears to flight time, the DJI Air 3 delivers a substantial boost compared to its predecessor, the Air 2s. While the Air 2s offered around 31 minutes of flight time, the Air 3 boasts a larger 4241 mAh battery, promising an impressive 46 minutes of flight time. Realistically though, users can expect a practical 32 to 35 minutes, making it an ideal choice for extended flights. One standout feature is that the Air 3's battery charging hub, which can also function as an external battery pack. This hub intelligently redistributes power from lower capacity batteries to the fullest one, ensuring you can take off again with a more charged battery after a flight. Another notable addition to the Air 3 is its enhanced ascent and descent capabilities, now achieving speeds of 10 meters per second, providing an exciting dimension to your flights. In terms of storage, the Air 3 features 8GB of internal storage, a detail that has raised questions. While memory cards are easily swappable, a larger internal storage capacity like 32GB or even 64 would have been considered more practical, considering that some of the internal storage is used by the system. However, the Air 3 does allow for USB drive connectivity. On the whole, the DJI Air 3 is a really great drone and makes great recordings. It is relatively small and compact and fits well in your backpack. It is also easy to use even for drone beginners. One thing though is still important to know. In Europe, you need a license for drones over 250 grams to fly them. This is why you should find out beforehand what the rules are in your country. Go right on ahead and check out the link in the description for more information, and if you want to buy one, you will have to pay around $1,100. I hope that you enjoyed this video, as well as all that DJI has to offer. If you did, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Take care, and I will see you around.